Hello once again. Oh, I forgot my headphones. Hi, nerds. Another reaction time. This is Demon Hunter. This is a band that, yeah, I found a while ago and have kind of listened to them on and off, like super when I first found them. Super loved a lot of their stuff and listened to them a whole bunch. And then for whatever reason, they kind of fell off of my radar. And then they put out a new record and they have a new video. So here we are. Real quick, let's do this. So, Demon Hunter. Oh, I didn't pull up their wiki. Well, crap. What other history with this band do I have? I know that they're a Christian band. It's kind of evident by the fact that they've named themselves Demon Hunter. The band, yeah. Okay, there we go. So, American Christian metal band from Seattle. Oh, I did not know that. They started in 2000 by brothers Don Clark and Ryan Clark. Although the brothers created the band together, only Ryan remains since Don left the band to take care of his family. As of early 2010, the band has sold over 500,000 albums. The band's style is known for combining new metal sounds and qualities with ones heard in metalcore. That's a fair description as far as I've listened to them. I honestly haven't listened to their entire discography, so don't hate on me in the comment section for that. But yeah, there is definitely a lot there, and a lot of quality stuff too. They're not a bad band. They definitely have a really hardcore following. Yeah. So as far as Lesser Gods, on December 3rd, 2018, they announced 2 albums, War and Peace, were scheduled to release March of 2019. Demon Hunter released both albums on March 1st, 2019. March 16th, the 2 albums made it into the top 5 of the Billboard Christian albums, with War in the second place and Peace in the third. So rock and roll. That's pretty awesome. I believe this is off of, this is off of War. That's all I really know. Expectations for this song. Hold that thought. Before we get any further into this video, let's get a couple of things out of the way. First, if you want to listen to this song or watch this video in whole without my commentary, then go do that. This is not the place for that. This is a reaction and analysis video. We're here for a conversation, not for a watch party. I'm going to be stopping this video, talking over certain parts, and replaying certain parts, so get used to it. Second, my analysis is my opinion. My opinion comes from a place of knowledge. I have over 30 years of musical training and experience, 20 years as a professional musician and producer, and almost 10 years as a video producer and director. I know what I'm talking about. All that being said, we will be discussing the performance of the song by the musicians, production of the song by the producer, and production of the video, should that apply, by the director and anyone else involved. Now, I return you to your regularly scheduled reaction video. Thanks, nerds. Okay, expectations for this record, or this song, I guess, is more appropriate. Their production has always been pretty good, so I definitely expect to hear some pretty standard metal production. It says it was mixed by Zeus, who has done a lot of heavy records. So I expect this to be pretty high quality production. Jeremiah Scott was the producer. I've never heard his name, so he's not necessarily a big name, but I don't know a whole bunch of other producers. I know the few that I've worked with, and some of the bigger names, but definitely not Jeremiah Scott. Not to say that that he's going to be bad at all, but just don't know who he is. Wow, 5-minute long song. Awesome. I'm totally cool with that. I like my metal long, baby. I totally expect this to have rock and roll bass syndrome in that we're not going to be able to hear it very well in the mix. It is what it is. There are very few bands that I think can shake that syndrome, and I don't think Demon Hunter is one of them. Again, not necessarily a bad thing as long as the rest of the song are solid. I do expect the rest of the elements of this song to be pretty solid, and I also expect the lyrics to be probably quasi about God. These guys are one of those bands that it's not necessarily covert God lyrics. It's kind of more subtle God lyrics. They're not like August Burns Red, where they just take straight proverbs and turn them into metal lyrics. They're not that Christian about it. They are very Christian dudes, so it is usually, I don't know that I've ever heard a song that wasn't a clean song as far as lyrics go. That still doesn't mean that it's not dark. That still doesn't mean that it's not heavy. Just clean. Just they don't use dirty words. And even that, I think, might not be 100% accurate because, again, I haven't listened to their entire oeuvre, and they definitely have a lot of tattoos, which the type of Christians that are like, oh, you said a naughty word, are not really the tattoo Christian type. So, yeah, I definitely could be wrong with the whole dirty words thing. But either way, I expect it to be pretty good. I feel like that covers everything. Let's do the thing. Very atmospheric intro. All right, so right off the bat, we've got atmosphere for days. Very interesting kind of fluctuation between the relationship of those two guitar sounds. When we first had a differentiation between the two, when we first heard the rhythm section and the lead guitar, there was a pretty good split. You still heard that lead just fine. We changed riffs, and the lead got a little muddy somehow, and then it came back around. Probably it was like the third time through the riff, so we went through the riff twice, and then we came back to the third time, and we got a harmony line for that lead guitar. So there's still, in the way, there's three guitar parts at that point. You have the rhythm guitar in the background that's playing with the bass and the drums, and then you have the lead that had been going the whole time, and then you have another lead that sounds like it's about a third up, so a step and a half up above, or even 2 whole steps. That's probably a step and a half. I bet that's a minor third above that lead line. So it gives it a little bit more presence, and it kind of brings it out in the mix a little bit more. I don't know. I feel like there would have been a better way to transition a little bit more smoothly through all 3 of those pieces, but still, I'm digging the mix. The bass is a little bit more present than I anticipated, but still just sounds like the bottom end of the guitar.
That's partially a production thing. That's also partially a performance thing. We talk about that a lot when we do these reactions, but until it stops happening, we're going to keep talking about it. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about this video too so far. It seems to be, they're probably not going to be this, but right now it seems to be just clips kind of thrown together. But there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on here. Even though it's black and white, and even though it doesn't seem to have a point yet, this effect, the black and white, the super saturated black and white, is already setting this atmosphere for us. So we know that there's a lot of darkness because the dark is so heavy in this image that it's setting up this same feeling that atmosphere was setting up in the intro to the song. And now that we have this double kick going on and we have all of this really aggressive music going on, this is contributing to that. But this is more than just simple black and white. I would imagine you can get a camera to do this in camera, but likelihood that they used one of those cameras for this is about this big. So this is a pretty heavy effect. Probably not something that's gonna bog down like an average gaming computer, but like very, very heavy-handed. I'm really interested to see where this goes visually from this, because this is pretty stark and very, very high contrast. Will it subdue that contrast? I don't know. We're gonna find out. That drone, I like that drone. Still super high contrast. Okay, so vocal effects. There's definitely a little bit of reverb on there. What is that? The underwater. There's a flange on there that's just going really, really fast. I feel like there's something else there too, but I can't pull it up. We'll listen to this a little bit more and see if I can pull that out. But there's definitely reverb. There's definitely flange. The flange is just it's not a very dramatic flange. It's oscillating very little bit and very fast. So like it's going between different frequencies. The frequency range is very small, but it's going between them very fast. Kind of sounds like he's underwater, right? That was dramatic. So all vocal processing is gone to the wayside when we transition into this aggressive vocal. That is just raw power. I believe his name was Ryan Clark. Is that the vocalist? I'm pretty sure he's the vocalist. That was intense. That was like, I kind of want to go back and listen to that transition again, just because you hit that brick wall so fast. Like, that was... I like that. Here we stand, turn and face the night. Sacrifice yourself or fall to let you die. See, not like directly Christian, but religious, even though they are against Christian. I think the vocal thing kind of bugging me. The flange on there is a little heavy. Ooh, that was fun. different transition into this section of the time. Still pretty straight up verse, chorus, verse stuff. Very powerful lyric. Ooh. And now we're into a bridge. To be expected, I feel like. I like the dissonance, even though it's not happening all at once. That is a dissonant note to the chord that came before it. So that's what makes it stand out a little bit. Now we're going back into the chorus. All right, so we're going to talk vocal production one more time. We've got a couple of different vocal tracks going on here, and the layering of them is not the way I would have done it, but I feel like it's super effective. So I'm taking notes on that one. So we're gonna go back a little bit and kind of break apart what those two things are real quick. All right, so we actually have 3 different vocal tracks. I didn't hear that the first time through. So we have the aggressive scream vocal, which that is a very unique vocalization, distinctively to this vocalist. So we have that. That's the dominant sound that we're hearing. The secondary sound that we're hearing is the la da 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 da. That the harmonized vocal, and then there's a third vocal that's tertiary, that's very low in the mix, but it's there, and it's him speaking or whispering even the lyrics in time with the screamed vocal. So everything is kind of revolving around that screamed vocal. The notes for the melodic vocal are dependent on the guitars, and the spoken vocal, the whisper vocal, doesn't sound like there's any sort of tonal center there. It sounds like he's just using whatever his normal speaking voice or whisper voice would be, which technically there's a note there, but it's not enough for it to stand out too hard, or even be, too abrasive against the ears. Very interesting layering. So the thing that I feel like I wouldn't have done is it kind of sounds, and I'll take off because I have the mix differently, so it's not coming through the headphones. The only thing that's coming through the headphones is my microphone and my bass, because I'm still working on how this is set up. So, but yeah, it sounds like it's a little heavier on one side. But again, that could just be because I'm only listening as such. But it sounds like a little bit heavier on one side, and it also sounds like they've squashed some of those lower frequencies in the mix for that voice specifically, which is something I wouldn't have necessarily thought of, but it kind of gives it this like lighter, like angelic almost quality to it. Probably something a buddy of mine that also does a lot of production work, I feel like he would have done it that way, because now that I'm hearing this mix and thinking back to some of the mixes he's done, like there's qualities there that resemble one another. Very interesting. We're gonna listen to this a little bit more and then probably talk about it a little bit more. intro. Whoa, that was pretty wicked visual. We also have the one of the three is cutting out. It doesn't sound like the whisper vocal cuts at all through this section. It sounds like the whisper vocal and the aggressive vocal are there throughout the whole thing, but we lose that harmonic melodic thing going on the top of the mix when he says, or bow to lesser gods, and then there's another line later where that it cuts out again. So emphasis. Very interesting way to do it. Often you will see producers do the opposite, where the emphasis is the thing that gets all of the voices, and then the regular vocal, or the regular lyric rather, is what just gets, whatever the core vocal sound should be. So this is kind of flipped in reverse, where it's everything is going for most of it, and then the emphasis is scaled down, which is effective. I've heard it in other mixes before. I feel like I can't remember what it was. I'm pretty sure it's a Stone Sour song I'm thinking of. It's definitely Corey Taylor's voice I'm hearing. I just can't remember what song or what the lyrics are. But yeah, it's not necessarily unheard of, but the more common way to do it would be the opposite, where you get all of the things happening for the emphasized vocal, and then less things happening to regular vocal. So I like that. I like that it's kind of playing with expectations. I really like the way that they have. It sounds like there's some other effect on that melodic voice, but because of the mix, because everything is happening, it's difficult for me to pick it out with my current setup. But I really want to say that there is some sort of other effect besides just squashing those lower frequencies in the EQ. I feel like there's something else going on with that vocal, but either way, very well done. I really dig it. We'll talk about the instrument sounds real quick. I really like the tone for the guitar. I feel like it's super effective. It's getting its job more than done. It's super heavy and crunchy and not chainsaw, not very tinny, which can happen with metal production. So I feel like a fair amount of that is because Zeus. But again, the primary producer, because Zeus is just the mixer, so primary producer is that guy that I can't remember his name now, whom I've never heard of before. So it's a very sufficient job with keeping the tone. Though Demon Hunter is definitely a band that they know how they should sound. They've been doing this for a very long time. They have spent plenty of time in the studio doing the thing. And before that, even, I'm sure they walked into the very first studio saying, "This is what my guitar sounds like. This is what I want to come out of the mix." And it's just the producer's job to then mix the levels and not necessarily do a whole lot on the EQ. Vocally, though, I'm really digging this song. As far as bass production, there's definitely a bottom end. We've talked about this, though. It's a combination of production issue and performance issue, because if they're playing a G chord, if I can do this on a bass, it doesn't really quite the same. So if they're playing a G chord and he's just playing a G note, that's kind of what most rock and metal bass players do, so you can't necessarily fault the guy for it. I just feel like there's so much more of a landscape that the bass can occupy rather than just being the bottom end of the guitar, that when I hear that, it counts as a strike. I'm not even going to sugarcoat that. It's definitely a strike against what I'm listening to, because because I'm a bass player and because that's not, generally speaking, that's not the route I take. Sure, certain sections of certain songs call for that as the audio aesthetic because you're trying to emphasize something. You're trying to let the vocals be more dominant because the that's just the way the songwriting process went. Is, these vocals are super important. I want to get this delivery across in a very specific way. So you scale your stuff back. You don't make it quite so cluttered. But usually there's a lot more to do with a bass than just be the bottom end of a guitar. So yeah, there's a long way of just repeating myself. Either way, I feel like all of the string instruments were adequate. The drums, though, were great. I feel like the kick is powerful. I feel like that snare sits on top of all of the instruments just like it should, but not over the top of the vocal. So you get a differentiation between the two of them. Neither one of them is really conflicting in the mix. And there was a little bit of tom work that, I mean, nothing super remarkable, but it sounded good. And the cymbals and hi-hats definitely are not really washy. So that's probably the stylistic choice they were going for. It sounds like very likely because that is the style of the song, not necessarily because that was the producer going, all right, I don't want to hear too many cymbals, so cut that shit out. It was probably more, this is the way we wrote the song. We don't want this wash of noise coming from the cymbals. So the producer did what he could to minimize it. But yeah, very, very well done as far as production goes. And as far as, again, lyrically, pretty strong, good dark lyrics, good dark video production as well. They kept, for the most part, I mean, there's a couple of shots in here where it was not hard on the contrast, but even this, like, you're looking at the pause right here. This is just, a random frame from the video. And you can see it's either black or white. There's very little in between the black or white. And it's super effective. It definitely helped add to the atmosphere of the song, which is what a good video should do. Either the video is a visual representation of the story, or it is a mirror of the atmosphere. That's how you can mark a good video. There's a couple other ways, but by and large, those are your two main things that you're trying to accomplish when you're making a music video for a song. You either want to emphasize the atmosphere, you want to make the atmosphere well-known, more well-known anyway, or you want to tell the exact same story that's going on in the lyrics visually throughout the video. That can be a literal thing, that can be an antithetical thing. There's a number of ways to do that, and this is more of the latter and not so much the former, obviously, because it's a little bit more esoteric in its lyrical content, but still pretty good. I dig it, and I'm done rambling. We're gonna end this bad boy.
Further into this video, let's get a couple of things out of the way. First, if you want to listen.
Sorry, I thought I muted that. Whatever. So thank you very much, nerds. What did you think of my reaction to this song and video? And my brief analysis? Because again, the first time I've heard this song, first time I've seen this video. So yeah, what did you think? Did I miss something? Did I misquote something? Because that I do tend to do that from time to time, because I don't, like, I have a lot of information up here, but sometimes it gets a little jumbled. So did you catch me in a jumble? Definitely let's have that conversation down low. If you didn't like this, I would really be interested to hear a valid argument as to why this wasn't a quality. All right, so let's briefly, real quick, we're gonna quantify that statement, because I feel like this is slightly above average, but still towards the middle ground of quality as far as just the entire package is concerned. So there's nothing really that stands out. Like, yeah, the video does its job very well, and yeah, all of the instruments do their job very well, and the lyrics and everything's there. It doesn't really strike me as one that sticks out of the bunch necessarily, but I will be the first to let you know that I do like mediocre versions of genres that I'm a big fan of. So metal and most of its subgenres, I am a pretty big fan of. So if it's a mediocre version, I will be the first one to tell you that that is mediocre. I really, really like it, but I can understand why somebody wouldn't like it. This is not as mediocre. There's a lot here that, again, while it's not necessarily super standout in the genre, it's enough to hold its own in the genre. To repeat myself, it's enough to stake its claim. There you go. Demon Hunter definitely have carved out their niche over the years, and it's partially because of the things I've already pointed out, because of Dude's voice and because of their Christianity and because of the dark imagery that they still utilize, even though they're Christian. So, I wouldn't necessarily call this mediocre though. Not great. It's pretty good. Not great, but not mediocre either. It's definitely a cut above the mediocrity. So yeah, if you feel otherwise, let's talk about that. I'm sorry, I just rambled again, but there we go. Thank you very much, nerds, for joining me. Let's get the end screen. All right, so we have these two boxes right there. Haha, we have those two boxes right there. You can click or tap either of those to see other stuff going on right here on the channel. Don't forget to click subscribe if you haven't already. Smash that like button because you love the things that I'm doing here on the channel. And yeah, one final thing before we head out. Always. Oh, wait, hold on. GenerallyNerdy.net is the website. Patreon.com/GenerallyNerdy to support. And now, always remember that if it's Generally Nerdy, it's probably here.